What's going on, guys? It's Matt, the host of the Perspective Project. Today I'm joined here by Nate, and we're just going to have a little conversation. So, Nate, why don't you tell the people about yourself?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on, by the way.
Of course.
Glad to do this. I think the project is awesome. And a little bit about me. I'm just senior marketing. I've had an internship with United Way, Fish and Wildlife, and nothing too crazy. I like hiking.
So, you have a project over. You can't really see it right now on this whiteboard. I might post a picture of it. You are working on something, and it looks big. Tell me about it.
So this is my thesis I'm working on, and it's really developed a lot. I've changed it so many times. It seems like every week I come up with a new or different idea and continue to develop it. But essentially, it looks at how it looks at the change in communication that we have now. You can see my thesis sentence right there, but right now we are living in a time of change, and that sounds cliche now because everyone's pointing at COVID, everyone's pointing at the new technologies coming out, and everyone says that we live in a time of change. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if anyone really stops and has considered what that change means.
Okay.
So right now, it's COVID. You're on Zoom, right, for your work or your class or whatever you're doing. You're on Zoom or Google Meets. That has completely changed the way you interact with people. So my project is about how digital communication is completely changing how we converse, how we talk to people. And you've seen that develop over the years. And like the introduction of social media, whenever Zuckerberg did that, I don't know, 08, 09 Facebook.
Recent.
Before that, MySpace. If anyone remembers MySpace, I sure as hell don't. But essentially, that's all the introduction. Mm-hmm. And it's introducing the new way that we are going to be communicating with people into the future. So my project looks and considers this change in communication, especially how biased people are. Nowadays, you live in a bubble. And there's a great TED Talk on what's called the filter bubble. And that is when on social media, you only follow people you agree with. And then social media learns who you agree with, who you like, and so they keep connecting you into a smaller and smaller circle and keep segmenting you so that you're only having one conversation with the same group of people. And this is terrible because now you're not able to think outside of your circle. You're not able to accept new ideas, accept new possibilities, accept when you're wrong, because you send out a tweet. Never before have you been able to get instant agreement than when Trump sends out Kofifi, and then you got 30 million people going, hell yeah, Kofifi! Woo! And then you got another 30 million people making fun of him on talk shows. You just have like a little typo, and then boom, it goes viral. Everyone freaks out about it. Now I'm making a joke about it. However many months or years later, I don't even, time doesn't make sense to me anymore. But what that does is like, especially with this election, you see how segmented people are. And this is looking at how we can try and communicate in a new way, understand how digital communication has changed the way we communicate, and trying to introduce an application or some ideas to kind of solve some of those problems.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like the basic synopsis and mission behind the whole project. And it's still very much a work in progress, but yeah.
So it kind of sounds like you just want to bring almost like the face-to-face connection you give it, because it's very hard to have a real disagreement and hate someone when you're having a face-to-face talk. You are finding a way to bring that online, is what it sounds like. You want to bring the conversation back to online, or?
Yeah, so I'm rethinking the way that we're having digital conversations. Because right now it's just too easy to post your comment and get so many people to agree with you. I post, I hate Donald Trump. I'm going to have a bunch of people agree with me, and then a bunch of people hate me. But with this idea, it's more about, what is your opinion on this topic? and then someone will rate it on a data chart, and then they also explain why their opinion is that.
Okay.
So then, when you see my opinion on Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever's going on, you see where I lie.
Okay.
But then you also scroll and you click on me, my name, whatever it is on that chart,
Yeah.
and then you see my explanation for why.
Okay.
So essentially, it's kind of like I don't know if you ever did mediation training or anything like that, but there's the I feel statements. I feel this way because of blank.
Okay.
And essentially, it's just kind of creating a different framework to host conversations on.
Okay.
I feel this way about this thing because of blank. Now, it's not biased. I'm not attacking you, but you're listening to my explanation, you're listening to my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You could be way over here. But now, you at least know why I feel that way and where I stand on an issue.
Okay, yeah, because I would say, like, Twitter is very impersonal.
Yeah.
Like, you could put 5 words on Twitter that will ignite half of the world in pure hatred for you and make the other half of the world want to come give you a hug and bring you onto their side. But, like I said, there's no context behind those words. So you are trying to bring almost the face-to-face feeling you get, but to online without having to do that.
Yeah, just a little bit more of a not so confrontational, kind of consider what you're saying a little bit more.
So
Yeah.
what if people they continue to just follow people and let people follow them that they know already agree with them? Would that make the change, or are you trying to like expose their ideas to people that maybe don't agree with them, or are you just going to let it happen organically? Like, how would someone's idea be presented to, I guess, people that don't agree with them, if that's kind of the thing you're trying to get to?
So, I mean, in my initial testing, I'm trying to focus on more of a target market.
Okay.
And so here in the Southwest, we have an enormous Native American population. We have Apache, Hopi, Tohono O'odham,
Up in Flagstaff and stuff.
and they're very overlooked when we have discussions about policies. But the Navajo Nation flipped the Arizona blue for Joe Biden, pretty much. Like if they didn't vote for Biden, it would have gone red, which like is neither good nor bad, but shows you the impact and influence that they have. Yet we never have conversations about them. The wall that's being built on the southern border of Arizona is going through the homes of Tohono O'odham, the tribe. Like they believe their ancestors reside in those mountains, and they're getting blown up. It's like imagine if your grandfather or great grandfather, if someone took dynamite and put it on their grave, and then you go up to Congress and you're like, this is wrong, and then Congress goes, yeah, but border wall, and so I kind of want to start with working with them and creating a platform so that they can express their views and opinions on certain things. And the idea here is to have a few people who post questions. So I'm talking to a tribal coordinator up in Flagstaff, and I'm trying to find local tribes to work with. And so they would post questions on the site, and then they would get reactions from people. So it's not like just a flood of information. It's people who are actually like interested in what people's opinions are. Okay. So should we build this border wall? Post it. You have your data visualization there. You have the chart where people express their opinions, and then you'll probably see an overwhelming number of people who disagree with the border wall along southern Arizona and the Tohono O'odham tribe. And then you're able to get more information in an unbiased way, and and that's kind of like how I'm starting to build it, and that's going to be initial testing for it.
Okay. So you almost want to move like political discord from these impersonal platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where you're kind of ranting, you're given whatever view you have with no context behind it, no one really knows who you are. Because let's be real, like no one's Instagram is a direct representation of who they are, it's who they want people to think they are. Right. So you're trying to basically bring those difficult questions to your platform so people are like, okay, I want to know what's going on with the border wall and how the Navajo Nation thinks of it. I'm going to go to this new program and I could actually get their unfiltered response rather than looking it up on Twitter and just finding people tweeting random stuff.
Exactly. Matt, shut up! You're getting on the mic!
Alright, you're good. Sorry, we have some people in the background over here.
Yeah, he's playing COD and he's sucking at Warzone. He's getting ranked like 150th, and there's not even 150th ranking because he's playing duos. That's how bad he is. Anyways, the idea with it is that it's kind of introducing what's missing in social media. It's not intended to be a social site, but it's intended to host conversations.
Okay.
And so you have context, purpose, and message are the three things. Because when you just tweet out something, there's no context to the situation that you tweet. Mm-hmm. When you're not clear about your purpose, people miscommunicate your message and what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. And then when your message is kind of grouped into these categories, people reject it. They just wholly reject it and don't listen to it. Mm-hmm. And so trying to introduce context, purpose, and messaging into a platform is how I think we can try and build better conversations. Okay. And this is just something that I'm testing. Mm-hmm. It's not out there yet. But I think it is important that just in general, when we have conversations with people online and through digital platforms, that we can keep in mind those three things: context, purpose, messaging.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And moving on from that a little bit, like just social media in 2020, I don't know if I can't remember before everything that happened with this pandemic, but I feel like it is just slowly turned into a black abyss of just hate. Like you can't go on anything. Like sometimes just for fun, I will go to Joe Biden or Donald Trump's Twitter and then just look at the comments under the things that people say. And they are some of the most misguided people that first of all think their message is going to be to try and do a good message on Twitter to get your point across and not sound like you're like really biased or an asshole is extremely hard to do because you're limited by the number of words you could say. You have to put it in this direct thing, and you're trying to get likes. So like if I lean right, I lean left, I'm going to get more likes and retweets than if I go right down the middle and say it how it really is, because no one's right. Like, it's, you know what it is, I mean, it's so inauthentic. Yeah. You post something that you don't even believe because it gets you retweets and likes. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of going away from what you're talking about, but like when I see these influencers, I see people like with these crazy vlogs, and they're just like, they're detached from reality. Yeah. And that's what social media has turned into, is it detaches people from reality. Because it builds a world that is, that you don't really live in. Like, I don't live across the street from a racist who is warmongering, who wants to kill everybody and is a fascist. Like, the guy across the street has a Trump flag. I don't think that about him. Yeah. But you know, it's a lot more exciting to live in a world where I think about that guy and that guy's mad at me. And it's more exciting, but the reality is he's just a dude. He's just trying to live his life. Yeah. And I gotta respect that. And we can disagree, but I don't need to hate him so I get more likes. I don't need to hate him so that I can be better friends with people who hate him. And I don't need to agree with every single thing that comes out on social media, every single move, every single woke thing. Because if I haven't considered it, why should I just be inauthentic? Why should I believe in something that I don't? Yeah. Because then that also removes my individualism. Like, then I'm becoming someone that I'm not. Yeah. And I just think there's a lot of hate just because people try to fit in these groups. They're uncomfortable being who they are because they don't want to be attacked, which I understand. Like, I don't even post on like social media because if I do, then it's probably just going to negatively influence me. It's just going to have a negative repercussion. Or if it has a positive repercussion, then that's bad because then I go back to it
to trying to find my self-worth. So it's just a trap, and I think it gets misused a lot of the time.
And I would say, like, the way we've developed as people is every time you're engaging with someone, there's other cues that aren't just verbal. There's body language, there's eye contact, there's tone. Are they yelling at me, or are they talking to me? Are they being like, what is going on? There's so many different things that our brain needs to really understand what this person's trying to get across. Because if they say something that hey, your shirt looks stupid, and we both laugh about it, but if I tweet at someone, and say like, at Nate's shirt looks stupid with a laughing emoji, two different things. Like, you're disconnected from the way I said it, me laughing after it, and not making it a big thing. But in his eyes, he's like, what's wrong with my shirt? And now he feels bad because of it. We're missing we're missing context from our lives right now. We developed trying to talk to people by seeing these other gives and tells, and then went to letters where it's like, okay, it's still handwritten, you can see the writing to you. Then went to phone calls, and then now email, and now Twitter, Facebook, and all that. Like, the person behind it has slowly been removed more and more. Like, I know people, they'll get off Twitter and be upset because they just got done, they got in an argument with someone over the election. They're not saying like, man, Dave from Texas is such an asshole. They go, man, screw Twitter. And they throw it down. You feel almost as if you are arguing with a cyborg from Twitter, but in reality, you're arguing with some dude that just got off his 9 to 5 that is thinking the same thing about you.
He's probably sitting on the toilet too.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of pooping and fighting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on social media, unfortunately, but it's a big outlet. Like, I think another thing is, for some people, they go to work, they have a boss they hate, they have a job they hate, they have a relationship they're not happy with, they're in debt, they're all these things, and they get home and they go, fuck you, I'm gonna show these people, I'm gonna project my inner feeling out on them. And I feel like that's something that's gonna be very hard to get out of social media or get out of people when it comes to technology. Like, you can go into any Call of Duty lobby and have some of the most horrible things said to you because there's that disconnect, and there's people that are just genuinely unhappy. So I think that would be probably your biggest challenge, is how do I get those people that, even though they are unhappy, how can I get them to express it in a better way that's more productive and building? Because if you're unhappy and you're tweeting and talking unhappy and you're fighting with people all the time, that's just going to keep feeding into this loop of more and more hate and just disdain for the world and all these things, when in reality you should be trying to fight that with, sound like corny, but fight with love. You need to, if you project love and happiness on the world, you will be a happier person. If you project hate onto the world because you feel like life is giving you the short end of the stick, you're going to be a hateful person. You can't be a happy person but speak hate, even if it's on a Twitter profile to someone that you have no idea who they are. It will eat away at you.
And I think that's that's really well put, because it's just, you think you have the right to attack someone, when if someone was standing right in front of you, and they're like, yeah, I like Trump because I'm a conservative, I want my taxes to be raised, and I'm like, you're a racist.
The conversation's over. The conversation's over once it happens, because now that guy goes, well, obviously I'm not racist. My wife is black, and they don't even know that. You're going to resent that entire group now because that one person didn't want to have a conversation and they wanted to jump down your throat.
You know what it really is we're all speaking the same language, except we've forgotten how to communicate with each other. That's what these new digital platforms are doing. It's the Tower of Babylon. Like, if you don't know the Tower of Babylon story, it's people are trying to build a tower to reach the heavens and show their power over God. And God goes, boom, you guys want to be like me? Boom, you guys can't speak to each other. That's what's happening. I mean, not in crazy religious sense that God's smiting us, but in the sense that with all these platforms, we've forgotten how to communicate with each other. we don't speak the same language now. Just like in Tower of Babylon, the people, they couldn't speak to each other. They started speaking different languages, and so they couldn't communicate, and so they had to leave each other. So if you're speaking like English to me, but I'm using Twitter, and we communicate on Twitter differently,
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're trying to say, especially in 150 characters.
Yeah.
And it's in our over-reliance on social media to have conversations is the problem too, because we rely on social media to talk to people. We rely on social media to get our opinions out there. You want to get your opinion out there? Take action. You think something's wrong in your community? Take action and work for that. Someone's driving too fast in your neighborhood. Put up a stop sign. You want to create a program for your kids after school because there's not one. Create that program. You need Neighborhood Watch? Create it. You can take small actions that doesn't seem exciting, but it fixes problems. And that's more effective than going on social media and tweeting, we need an after school kids school program. We need to do this. We need to do that. It's just, take action, take accountability, take responsibility, and also start opening up. Start having conversations with people. Don't do it on social media. Use social media as a conversation starter to something bigger, because you'll never be able to get your point across tweeting. I know people like their threads. They put on a 30-thing tweet thread, but that doesn't get your point across. I mean, if you want to get your point across, have a conversation with someone, but don't get into arguments with strangers. Don't be Kevin Durant, being like, he gets called a cupcake. He gets on Twitter, he's like, I'm not a cupcake. You see me playing the NBA? It's like, he's talking to Joe Schmo in LA who's working at McDonald's. Just like as a cashier. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they live in two different worlds. So you don't need to interact with someone living in a different world than you, but what you need to do is have a conversation, a real one.
And I think that social media kind of plays on a big flaw with human nature where everybody wants the same outcome. They want to live a happy life. They want to have loved ones. They want to have friends. They want to have enough money to live and not worry about, am I going to be able to eat? They want the basics. And everybody has a different way of getting there. And they think just because someone is, let's say, for example, you're a Democrat, someone's a Republican, they're Republican because they want to ruin their own lives, they want to ruin this country, they want to ruin the world. It's like, no. They're Republican because they see the path to getting to the essential, utopia where everything is happy and people are able to live these good lives. That is the route to take. Same thing as Democrats. They think getting to this utopia where everybody's living a great life is a different path. Both sets of people want the exact same outcome. Both sets of people want a happy, healthy life with loved ones. So that's something that I think everybody needs to kind of realize going into any conversation. When someone tweets, I love Donald Trump, they're not tweeting that because they think, unless some people do, they're not tweeting that because they think he's going to be the downfall of America, he's going to ruin this. They're tweeting that because they think he's going to save America. He's going to save everybody. He's going to fix things. People just have different ways of getting to the exact same ending that we're all in pursuit of. All we want is happy, healthy loved ones, all that. We just have different ways of getting there. And I think that's a really big blind spot in our society, especially today, especially with this election. That I guess is still going on. People are still tweeting about it, fighting about it, and all these things. And it's like, hey, both sides want the same things. There's a different way to get there for both people. And in their head, they're right. I think that's something you really need to think about and remember before you go and call someone a Nazi or fight with them because of whatever their view is. They want the same things as you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just ego.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about that, but I think we get so wrapped up in our individual egos that because if I go onto Instagram and I go onto my profile, it's all about me. It's my posts and stuff, and that feeds into my ego, the ego that I'm living in my world. But the truth is, I'm living in your world. I'm making. You're coming into my world. We're on a podcast now.
Yeah.
and I make the impact in my roommates' worlds. We all come together and we have influences on each other. And what people don't realize is that you're no longer just living your life. You're also influencing the life of people you come in contact with people you don't come in contact with. You donate to $10 to a charity, and that's going to help feed a kid that wouldn't otherwise have had food. You may never see that kid, but you got that kid a meal or 2 meals for a weekend. And it shows that we don't live in this individual system that we think we do. We live in our neighborhoods. We have local community. We have a regional community with the Southwest, and you feel some type of kinship with the people in Arizona when you can relate to them on some level. You have a kinship with the people from your hometown. You have a kinship with people who identify as Americans because you're American too. But you have a kinship with the whole world, because at the end of the day, what all this is amounting to is that we live in a more and more global society, and we need to think outside of our own individual worlds. We need to think bigger than that. And I think that's a big thing, is that ego gets in the way.
I think it's almost taught now that if someone is questioning an idea that you have, they're questioning you. They're questioning you as an individual. They're attacking everything that you have identified with. But you have to be able to sever that connection where it's like, my ideas are not me. They're just ideas. And they should be able to change and morph, because that's the sign of a mature, developed human being. If when you turn 18 years old, you decide, I am blank political party, I will never look at the other one for the rest of my life until I die. If that's your thinking, you've already lost it life. You have to be able to hear both sides, because oftentimes the answer is somewhere in the middle. Like, I mean, this kind of goes off on a tangent, but everybody's saying, like, pro-guns or anti-guns. One side says no regulation on guns whatsoever. The other side says all regulation and then get rid of the guns. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, because there's too many guns in America to get rid of all of them. So maybe a little bit more regulation, maybe a little bit less. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer is usually in the middle than what the two polarizing ideas are. And you have to kind of realize that, and I think if more people can kind of start to walk that line and realize my opinion is not law. My opinion does not define me. It is just my opinion, and I'm not a weak person for changing my opinion. If you change your opinion, that is actually a sign of personal growth, development. You're a better person for it. Even if the opinion you changed was a good one, you changed it maybe a little bit of a worse one, at least in your brain, you're able to make up your mind. You're like, okay, maybe I wasn't right on this. Let me rethink it. You know what? That other guy was right. Yeah, no, Nate, you were right on that subject. Yeah, I'm going to change it. That is a sign of a very, in my opinion, like an intelligent person. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a friend where even if they know they're wrong, they won't admit it. It's like, dude, we have you on camera. And I'd be like, it's not me. It's like, you wrote your name on the board. Like, we saw you take the cookie. What are you talking about? It's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. That is not, I wasn't even home last night. People will argue even though in their head they know they're wrong, which is just, it's toxic, but we all do it. And the sooner you could kind of realize that you have a bias, whether it's a good bias or a bad bias, it's okay to reevaluate the way you think about the world. That is an okay thing to do every single time.
Yeah, it's kind of the "it's not you, it's me" conversation.
Yeah,
it's
that's exactly.
It's changed from "it's not you, it's me." Like, it's not your opinions. I just agree with something else. Yeah. Now they reversed that, and it's terrible, because now you're basically saying it is you. It's not me.
Yeah. And I think that's just a really big part of the problem. Is I would imagine there's been times on Twitter where someone that's a staunch Republican, they read something a Democrat tweeted, and they're like, that makes sense. I agree with that, but I will never say that out loud. Oh no, what happened?
No, video just froze. What I want out of this project, I need to reevaluate what I know, and the more you know, the less you know. Like once you start learning about the world and you start digging into your opinions, your biases, you realize that you really don't know anything. And it's really great to be humbled because it's like people don't like being humbled.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being like, oh shoot, I didn't know this. Oh, I was bad at this. Let me grow. Let me improve. Because at the end of the day, like, our life is too long to live in denial every single second. To think that I know everything. To think that it's other people that they're wrong. To think that it's other people's problems. No. I can grow. That problem, I can solve it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go solve it. It's not someone else's.
Yeah.
I'm part of this community. I'm gonna go solve it. This topic, I don't know enough about it, so I'm gonna learn more.
Mm-hmm.
If you just take the responsibility and accountability instead of tweeting whatever you tweet, like Kevin Hart's tweet that you just talked about, just some ridiculous, terrible thing, or you tweet Kofifi. I wish I had more examples. That's the only one that comes to mind. But instead of just tweeting some crazy thing or putting on Instagram that you're at a BLM march, you saw influencers hosting at a BLM march.
And then leaving.
And then leaving. They drive up in their Tesla. You're like, got my nails done for the BLM march.
Yeah.
It has like Black Lives Matter on the fingernails. Take a picture like with them next to a smashed window. They're holding a brick. And then they leave. And then they have no idea why people are protesting, why this matters. They're like, I did my part. It's like, no,
You didn't.
You don't know everything. Think about things and just reevaluate. Be humble. I mean, I love it. I love. And if you were to say like everything I said right now was bullshit, I'd be like, okay, perfect. Why?
Exactly.
Teach me why I don't know what I think I know.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reasons I'm actually starting this project personally is just sitting at home every day and like I don't post on social media, but I use it, I read it, and just seeing both sides and everybody's always at each other's throat. I wanted to be able to get my own personal thoughts out there, but needed a more effective, more organic, more genuine way to do it. Because I could be at home right now tweeting on this subject of divisiveness and social media. I could be tweeting this right now and maybe even get a lot of followers, but not change anything. And again, if I were just at home tweeting, I would never get another perspective on if what I'm tweeting is even right. And is what I'm doing even right? I've never let anybody question me on it. I've never actively seeked anybody to question me on it. So that's kind of like the whole goal that I'm trying to do here. I want people to come on this. You'll see the questions down in the description there, and have a completely different perspective than I've ever thought about those questions whatsoever. And just be like, wow, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate. Or I could hear someone and be like, I don't know if they're exactly right, and here's why I think. And hopefully that they would be able to see where I'm coming from. But then it's like, if they don't want to change, then that's fine. Everybody is allowed to have their opinion. It's just we need to do better at listening to both sides and knowing, hey, the answer's in the middle. It's not the right, it's not the left. There's something down the middle that's called compromise for a reason. You're not going to get 70 million people that voted for Trump to bow down to everything that Biden wants to do. But if they're like, hey, let's kind of pull in both sides, let's have an actual discussion, let's get a little bit less divisive on some of these issues, a lot more would get solved in this country. Like, just a lot more. Just conversations like this.
Yeah, love it. You can solve so many issues by just having a conversation and being open-minded about it. Also, number one thing I learned about having conversations is always go in thinking that you know nothing about the subject, because then you can learn everything. Because if I asked you about aviation, I truly know nothing.
Yeah.
But like, let's say I have some basic information, I go in thinking that I know everything there is to know, I'm gonna learn nothing from talking to you, because I'm gonna be like,
to say that like Twitter and Instagram can't have good Discord. It's just a lot easier to have really bad Discord, and the algorithm is also spoon feeding you things that it's like, this might tick him off a little bit. He'll stay on longer if we just piss him off a little bit. And you're getting things literally fed to you that an algorithm knows is going to get you upset and make you stay on their programs longer. So it's really just how you go into it. So I'd say like the base takeaway, I'm going to agree, disagree, or add more. If you're going into a conversation, you don't know everything, you might be wrong. That's okay. If you're able to acknowledge the fact that you're wrong in a conversation or even change your perspective a little bit, that's great. If someone else has a perspective that's different from yours and completely polar opposite, such as you're pro-gun, they're anti-gun, hear them out. Because there might be holes in your own argument that you don't know, that you've been preaching for the last 10 years, and then someone says a statistic, and you're like, oh wow, it's that bad. Like, you really have to hold yourself accountable when it comes to ideas. Anything else you'd like to add?
I totally agree. And to just kind of bring it full circle, context, purpose, message.
Perfect. And I think once you get this thesis done, if you would want to do a follow-up to see,
I'd
see
love
where
to.
things go. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll meet back up with Nate once he's done with his project, and we'll see what he got.
Great. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.